Okay, so this speaker was from UK.
Okay, are you taking me on a trip again?
Yes, of course. I'm taking you to India.
Great.
And where we have to say hi to Captain Ritesh Kumar. So he's the representative of company Broadside Marine. Broadside Marine PVT Ltd has been in industry since 2016, offering marine consultancy, inspection, surveys, and audit-related services. So they have been instrumental in assisting tanker operations to make a fleet-wide transition to MEG4 standards. So they have been able to assist tanker operators right from selection of mooring lines to the re-strengthening process, always keeping in mind the aspects of convenience and cost effectiveness. So effective, convenient company.
5 years old, actually.
Yeah, actually the companies that are presenting today, I took a
Quite
note,
young.
they're quite young. Talking about maritime industry, which is really old industry, we have some new faces providing their services, and it's really interesting what they can offer. Mr. Ritesh, do you hear us?
Hi there, I'm Ritesh here. Can you hear me?
Hello,
can hear
yeah,
you.
everything's fine. We can hear you.
How are you, sir?
I'm very good and hope you and other participants are also doing very well wherever they are.
Yeah, of course. So, Ritesh, your presentation is called MEG4, a vessel operator's perspective. So, I believe, just question out of curiosity, you guys are working in Eastern maritime industry already?
Yes, since we are working out of India, so we are pretty much on the eastern side and we are very much there. That's
Yeah.
correct.
So, my guess is that currently it's your main market. Is that right?
Yes, yes. This is, since it is closer to home, so this is a natural home market, but then we are always looking around.
Perfect. So the name of presentation looks intriguing. So if you're ready, you already shared your presentation, sorry, slides. So if you're ready, we can dedicate a stage to you and you can approach the audience.
Okay. uh, Mooring equipment guidelines for, in short, MEG4, vessel operator's perspective. Good morning, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you are. My name is Captain Ritesh Kumar. I am representing Broadside Marine Private Limited, and today I am here to discuss MEG4 from mainly a vessel operator's perspective. So there we go. Okay, talking about MEG4, the very first question which comes to anybody's mind, why MEG4? Was MEG3 not enough? A very simple answer to that would be MEG3 came in 2008 and MEG4 came after the interval of 10 years, that is in 2018. So 10 years is a pretty long time. There was something required in that direction. And another reason, there was a mooring related incident in one of the vessels. And after investigation, it was found out that there is a clear misunderstanding between various stakeholders in shipping, right from the mooring line manufacturers to the vessel operators to procurement department and end user, that is the vessel crew. There have been some misunderstanding because they had different benchmarks, different standards to look for. So this was one of the main reasons why MEG4 has to come. Okay, when we are talking about MEG4, a term straight away comes in our mind, and that is STMBL, stands for Ship Design Minimum Breaking Load. OCIMF comes with a new term, STMBL, which operators have to think about now. Now, why this STMBL came out? Was there not anything earlier compared to STMBL? why did the STMBL come out at the first place? Well, the answer to that is there was a criteria earlier too, and this criteria was defined by classification societies, which was known as minimum MBL of mooring lines. And in fact, OCMF also recommends that the vessels which have identified minimum MBL of mooring lines, they can consider it to be STMBL. In fact, the word used in their website is minimum MBL of mooring line can be synonymous with the STMBL. So MEG4 gives a clear way for the existing vessel to transition to the new system. Now, talking about STMBL, a very natural question comes in our mind is how to calculate STMBL of a vessel, because so far older vessel or existing vessel before 2018 did not have any term like STMBL. Well, MEG4 gives a methodology to calculate STMBL. You can see on the screen, there is a flow chart where ship size hull form is found, followed by mooring force calculation, followed by maximum mooring restraint, and finally finding out the STMBL by dividing maximum restraint requirements divided by number of mooring lines in that service. Well, the methodology looks very simple, but it involves a bit of calculations, but that's not the end of it. Even after this calculation, there are some existing criteria which we cannot discount, which we cannot ignore. For example, there have been existing IACS criteria, there have been, or not have been, there is mooring system design principles as mentioned in MEG4. There are some oil majors who have some criteria, and there are oil terminals which has their own criteria. So even after calculating STMBL from OCMF MEG4 methodology, we can't be sure or we can't see that case as an isolation and discard other criteria. The STMBL has to be gone through, passed through all these criteria, and then we should do a smart selection of STMBL complying with all these given criteria. Okay, now since we are talking about STMBL, what are the challenges with STMBL? Well, as I said earlier, there was no criteria, there was no term like STMBL earlier. Then vessel operators are trying to find out a balance between class compliance, oil major compliance, SIA inspectors compliance, and some terminal compliance. Then there are times when STMBL relation with a few things. For example, SWL of ship's deck equipments, or mooring winch brake holding capacity, or SWL of loose equipment, for example, mooring shackle, and MBL of existing ropes. We have to, as a vessel operator, we have to find a relationship and identify that relationship, which is again based on STMBL. So you see, STMBL becomes the core feature because all other requirements for mooring, deck fittings, or loose equipment will be related to STMBL, and hence assignment of STMBL has to be a smart one. Then the last challenge, but not the least, selection of ropes. There are ropes which are on board which does not have a certificate as per MEG4 criteria, which mentions LDBF, that is line design brake force, or TDBF, tail design brake force for mooring rope tails. Now, what to do about those certificates? How to relate the MBL of line with the STMBL as far as the mooring rope certificates are concerned? Okay, so next is a big question which I keep coming through many times. How about the existing vessel? Does existing vessel do they need to come to MEG4 standards completely? Well, talking about the existing vessel or pre-MEG4 vessel, I have already explained there is a way suggested by OCIMF where minimum MBL of mooring lines can be considered synonymous with the STMBL. There is a way to transition. However, this transition is not always smooth. There will be some criteria which will be coming on the way, one of which is minimum MBL of mooring lines, which was decided by the class at the time of ship construction. Many times it does not allow. There are some other factors which comes and the transition may not be very smooth. And in fact, in MEG4 also, this answer is not very clearly defined. It has not been very clear even in their website or the information. And many times they ask us to consult the classification society for that vessel. However, there is no doubt that whatever standards the ships are made of, that original mooring equipment design philosophy has to be identified. Whatever gaps are there as per the existing mooring design philosophy and MEG4, those gaps have to be identified. Those gaps have to be documented. An action plan has to be made. Talking about action plan, this action plan shall be reasonable and shall be cost effective. It does not mean that there is a blanket, we go for a blanket compliance and comply with all the MEG4 requirement. No, even MEG4 states that this action plan has to be reasonable and cost effective as well. But it has to be documented, it has to be identified and mentioned in the MSMP, that is Mooring System Management Plan, and LMP, that is Line Management Plan. Okay, talking about gaps, let's talk about a few more gaps. Now, these are the typical gaps. There can be many other gaps, but these gaps I come across very often. To start with, minimum MBL of mooring line is not in sync with the STMBL. We have assigned a STMBL, but the mooring lines on board, they are not syncing with the STMBL. That is, they are not within 100 to 105% of STMBL. Or mooring winch brake holding capacity, they are not in sync with the STMBL. Or the mooring fittings are under strength. We have assigned a STMBL, but that STMBL is not syncing with the SWL of mooring fittings. If the mooring fitting SWL is high, that's okay. But if it is low, definitely there is a safety hazard. Then talking about mooring lines can be overstrength, mooring line can be understrength. Understrength mooring line, again, definitely a safety hazard. Overstrength of mooring lines, well, you don't have to replace these lines always, even if they are above the given mentioned envelope, that is 100 to 105%. But then there is a limit. There is a limit where it should not go beyond that. If it is, then of course we have to change those mooring lines. Now, talking about gap closures. We have talked about gaps, we have talked about gap analysis. What are the typical closures? What are the typical action plans? What all we can do to close the gaps for the existing vessel to transition to MEG4? Well, as I mentioned earlier, we may have to renew loose equipments that includes ropes or tails, then renewal of fixed equipment. This is a last resort, this is a last option when we ensure, when we make out that there is no way we can reduce, we can contribute to the safety hazard, then only this action is being recommended. Out of 150 vessels we have done, I think one or maybe two vessels only, we have asked for some of the mooring equipments re-strengthening. But as I said, this takes a lot of money and time. So we try all other options available before recommending this. Then we might have to amend some settings on board, starting with the mooring winches, like adjusting of brake rendering capacity, or even simpler, if we have to amend the existing procedures, those are also being suggested. Okay, now, whatever gap closures or whatever analysis we do, whatever suggestions we give, we are we are taking a broader, we are keeping a broader picture in front of us, and we are sticking to very basics, very simple things, and those we would like to name as clause paramount. First criteria is about mooring system design principles. MEG4 mentions there are about mooring system design principles, about mooring equipment, about standard mooring pattern, about lines, about the stiffness of lines. So there are some mooring system design principles which cannot be compromised. Whatever actions we take, we cannot compromise with mooring system design principles, and this is given in MEG4 itself. And second, the logical step, MEG4 always advocates a risk-based approach. Whatever we do, whatever gap closures we do, they have to relate to human safety factor. Human safety hazard must be always looked for. So if we are keeping these two criteria in front of us, we will never go wrong. We will never go wrong. We are going in the right direction, and we will, as I said, we are going in the right direction. Okay, let's talk something about future. We are talking about MEG4 and OCIMF, which is mainly for tankers, but the term STMBL will not be unheard of in dry sector as well. Come 2024, IMO has already proposed and amended SOLAS. Come 1st Jan 2024, STMBL is a term which will heard over all across all types of ships, including dry ships, container ships, and tankers. So even for dry vessel operators, it's time that we start looking into this direction as far as mooring equipments, procedures, and mooring safety is concerned. Okay, now in very short, what we provide in this respect, we provide solutions leading to fleet transition to MEG4 standards with minimum resources. We have done nearly 150 vessels, ranging from old vessel right to new deliveries. Then mooring review, we provide mooring review in line with the OCMF TAMSA 3. There is a requirement, so we can very well provide that for the fleet. We have a Lloyd's endorsement certificate for allowing us to perform calculation on environmental forces as per MEG4, and it's there right on the screen. Very few entities have it. We are able to secure it. Finally, the final word. It is normal, it is typical not to have 100% synchronization from MEG3 to MEG4. That's okay. Even if we get a third-party observation, we just comply with it. It's not required. As far as those two criteria I have mentioned in the clause paramount, if they are being followed, we are going in the right direction. And STMBL assignment again has to be a smart one. And last word, MEG4 has set the ball rolling to all types of ships, to all stakeholders in shipping, right from the ship designers to the vessel crew. So now we have to think beyond the existing mooring design philosophy and be receptive to adopt MEG4 in totality or partiality, or at least in principle. Well, my presentation is over. I hope I have not taken a long time. That's it. Thank you for listening, everybody. Thank you.
All the participants, guys, make a screenshot. Ritesh just closed the slide. That was the contact details.
So don't worry about that. We're gonna just provide everyone. So now, okay, you can take screenshots if you want to.
Sorry,
the contact
I
details
closed
are back
the
on again.
presentation. It's back. It's back again there.
Yeah.
Very nice. So yeah, contact details on the screen, and all the participants can make a screenshot if they want to reach you out immediately. And for now, I would like to ask my colleague to raise some questions to you.
Okay, so what are the main mistakes made with maintenance of mooring lines that cause safety issues?
Yeah, can you please repeat that question for me?
Yeah, what are the main mistakes made with the maintenance of mooring lines that could cause safety issues?
See, we have to accept that there will be wear and tear of mooring lines. That is unavoidable. Then we have to also think in the direction that we should not always just comply with the requirements. For example, if a mooring line has to be changed after 5 years, wait for 5 years and then change it. We have to keep maintaining, keep checking, keep verifying the mooring lines at given intervals or even before every use. And the mooring equipment inspection criteria have to be well defined in company procedures, and it should be easy to implement. It should be easy to use by the vessel crew. Then only the mooring lines maintenance will be taken care of.
Okay, thank you for that. And now, do you only work with tankers?
No. As I said, very soon this terminology and this philosophy will be has to be adopted by way of amendment in SOLAS come 1st Jan 2024. So we are open for dry sectors as well.
Okay, and now about these tankers, right? Are the old tankers before MEG4 required to transition then to MEG4?
No, I have touched that in my presentation. The answer is not very clear, as I said, but what is very much clear that gap analysis has to be performed. Where the vessel is and where the MEG4 is, we have to perform a gap analysis. We have to make an action plan. We have to see where the vessel stands and try to get closer to it, always keeping in mind about the plan implementation, the efficacy of implementation, cost factor and time factor. It has to be a reasonable plan.
All right.
Thank you. One more question to you. How to determine vessel STMBL?
Well, I have touched that in my presentation too. MEG4 suggests a methodology to find STMBL that requires some calculation. I said we already have a Lloyd's endorsement for that calculation, but I'm adding to that, that is not the only criteria which should we refer. That criteria cannot be seen in isolation. There are other criteria as well. So whatever STMBL value we choose, we have to be smart there.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, so I think that's actually about it.
Yeah, we crossed the time limit, and Ritesh, one more time, I would like to thank you for the presentation, which was nice to listen to you. Actually, it was informative, and basically will go far and beyond even when the event is finished. So this will be seen again. This was seen already by our audience. It will be seen again after the forum, and your contact details will be delivered to all of our attendees. So we hope for inquiries for Broadside Marine.
Thank you very much, and sorry I exceeded the time limit. I apologize for that, but otherwise
everything's good. Don't worry about anything.
Thank you.
If you know, I can tell you, if there is a good presentation, we feel to actually cut it, because it's we need to listen to it because it's interesting, and not only for us but for all audience as well.
Thank you.
All
Thank
good.
you for that.
Presentation was amazing. Was nice to have you here.
So thank you for being with us, and of course we wish you a great day ahead of you.
Thank you. Same to you guys. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll be in touch. Bye bye.
Thanks. Bye.